This is a Cloverleaf interchange, and it's one of the worst things you can do to traffic in Cities Skylines. Today, I'm going to give you a tutorial on turning this into this. And this is a stack interchange. I would argue it looks a lot better than the default Cloverleaf. It also handles traffic much more efficiently in the same amount of space. And best of all, you can build it without mods, no DLC required. And I'll be building this on the console edition just to prove that point. Maybe your starting tile has a Cloverleaf as the main highway exit. Or maybe you dropped in one of the pre-built Cloverleafs to quickly connect two highways. But even if you don't have one in your map yet, you will for a few minutes because we're going to use this Cloverleaf as a template. Before I get started, I want to give credit for the design of the core of this interchange to HK_City Skylines. Check out their channel on YouTube. They've got about 1,000 subscribers, so stop by there. Give them some love, like, subscribe, check out the other intersections. We've already got some traffic flowing through, even though there's no town built up here. It's just an empty map. But I'm gonna go ahead and pause it, and we're gonna delete everything internal to this structure. So all these bits of highway, and we can also get rid of all the exit ramps as well. We don't need those right now. We basically just need this spacing between these highway pieces. So this is how we're starting. Step number 2, I'm going to use the 2-lane road, the basic road, and I'm going to connect each bit of highway with a straight shot of road. Using regular road for 2 reasons. One, it doesn't bend and snap in funny ways like highway does when you're connecting highway pieces to highway. But also, it's going to give us these zoning markers. That's going to be very important for our spacing here. Next, I want to go into my snapping options. And I'm going to turn off road guidelines because I don't want to snap to the road. I want to snap to this grid of zoning that we've built here. And all I need to do is find the middle of this space. Easiest way to do that is basically just draw a plus sign right in the middle here. I'm leaving 1 square of space though between any of these zones. So we've got that space all defined, 1 square of zoning on every side. I'm gonna come over here to the left-hand side and just put my circle on the outside of the road. So this end piece right there, we don't want to cover the empty zone. We want to cover just the road. And we're going to look over here for a 45-degree angle that is straight. Now you might think that looks pretty good, but notice that there's a little bit of a bend there. It's not quite what we want. So we're actually going to come out to 680 for this first segment. Now, if you want to be absolutely perfect, you can mess around with this a little bit more, but we actually don't need these other roads if that's good enough. And for me, that's good enough, and I'll show you why in a minute. What we want to draw, building off of this point, which is set right in the middle there, is a 16 by 16 square. And these long lines are 10 units. They appear at every 5. So that's 15. One more is 16. And we know because it's $640 worth of road. I'm going to break this original road because that was actually 17 units the way that we drew that to get that straight line and get just the right angle in there. So again, 640 is 16. And we've got a diamond now with the tips pointing at all the highways we want to connect. In my example here, we're going to set up the highway running left to right to be the one that's flat in the ground. The one that's north to south is going to be the one that comes up over the top. I'm going to shimmy around to the right here and look at it as a square. Dig out my highway ramp, and we want to make sure 3 things are set. We want to make sure we're on straight. Under snapping options, we want to make sure road guidelines are on, and elevation step should be on the lowest of the 3. High, medium, low. That's the equivalent of 3 meters if you're playing on PC. Now to get over a road, we need to come up 3 clicks. Anything less isn't enough. But we actually want to come up 4, 5, 6 total. And I'm going to come center of the square and 1 tick up, connect over as far as we can, and then do the same thing. If it gives you any trouble clicking in where you want, try rotating your camera around. It helps a lot, especially on console. Now we're at 6. To get over that, we need 1, 2, 3 more. That is 9. And we're going to do the same thing going up and down. As close as you can to the row without intersecting on both sides. And then 1 click over. Same thing there. And we should be left with something like that. Now here's where things can get a little tricky. We're going to use the highway road And we want to find the perfect snap point. We're going to start on the ground with this one. So all the way down to base. And I don't want to snap to the squares closest to the road. And I don't want to snap to the squares way back here. I want to hit those 4 right there, if you see where I am. And I'm going to drag highway and connect it to the same spot over here. Make sure you get that exact same spot. I'll give you a second to look at that. That's where we want that road. Now, it is possible to snap another piece of highway here and put it right next to the other one, but it's a wicked pain. So we're going to go to upgrade. We're going to cheat the system a little bit. We're going to switch that back to a regular road, back to highways, straight tool, and find that same snap point. Right there. Come on through and look for that spot right there. We want to be clear of the bridge. Don't be like that and where your road's going to continue into the bridge and not be able to connect. We want it to be right there. Now, with that in place, go back and upgrade your other road. You can see we're dealing with really tight spaces here. So we've got to be very precise. We're going to do the same thing one more time. Swing around this way and do the same thing, but 1, 2, 3 clicks up off the ground. We're going to look for those same 2 spots. So right there to there. Upgrade. Regular road. Back to highways and do the same thing. Straight tool. Find your snap point. Connect it through, and then we'll upgrade that last segment of highway again. Now, I recommend going between regular road and highway because it doesn't snap together the same way. And just look at the space that we're dealing with. This is a very tight build. But once you have this part done, that's the tricky part. The rest of it is pretty simple. I've made a ton of room for my interchange. You don't need to back off as much as I did. We will at this point, though, delete this square frame because we don't need this any longer. In fact, it's just going to get in our way. We want to get these highways back down to ground level. We want to come out 12 units to do that. That's 12. That's 13. It gets all distorted, so 12 is your smoothest ramp going down. Do the same thing on the other side. And for consistency, I'm also going to come out 12 units on the other highways. So these ones that are on the ground, I'm going to come out 12 units as well. That's 10, 11, 12, 840. Direction does not matter right now. We're going to change all that up. But this way we can have a nice, consistent look and feel. I'm going to come out another 3 big lines. So 2100 from there should give us enough space to work with. And repeat that on all 4 sides. Now your interchange should look something like that. Basically a crossed highway with some X's on top. We're going to go into our road tools. And I do this next segment with regular roads. Again, they snap a little different. We're going to be on the ground for this. And we're going to look for the node that is kind of one away from the intersection, if that makes sense. So not here, but here. And right next to the highway, basically 1 click away, we're going to do a 20 unit long road. And these should all line up just right. And same thing on each side. We'll just repeat that process 4 times. Now, if you have problems snapping here, like I am, see how it's going out too far because it wants to snap to this road. Just come down here and snap 1 in from the end. And you should be able to get the same look and feel. Just a little easier rather than trying to click around and find the right road guide to lock onto. So now let's switch over to the curve tool and connect the ground pieces first. right between those two segments of highway is kind of the ideal spot. Doesn't matter really which way we connect, because it should curve around the same way. And this part does not have to be perfect. As long as those are tucked in nicely like that, we should be good to go. With that curve tool still out, we're going to connect those top pieces into the side ramps and then get everything connected into the highways. Now, when I'm coming out from this road here, I want to connect to the opposite node right here. I want to connect to this line. So don't connect to the close node, but connect to where it lines up on the opposite. So if we're on the left here, we're going to connect to the right node. If we're on the right, we're going to connect to the left node. Same way we started those straight segments. So coming out until we find that little light up right there. I'm going to snap that to the end of this segment right here. And then this segment, we come out just past the circle with the curve tool and connect it in right there. We're going to do the same thing over this way until we get that straight node from right here lit up. Connect there, connect just past the bubble, and do that. We're just going to repeat this process on all four sides, and we're pretty much done at that point. So at that point, the build is done. We've just got to break out the highway ramps and upgrade the small roads and change directions. Now the directions will be the way that you drew them. So depending on right-hand versus left-hand traffic, I'll be setting this up for right-hand. The highways are pretty straightforward, right? Keep your traffic moving on the right-hand side, or again, left-hand if you're setting things up that way. This intersection will work fine both directions. But let's talk about the off ramps for a minute, because this is a process that you're going to repeat on all sides. This is an exit ramp. If I go to the right ramp, I'm actually turning left, technically, because I'm coming up over the highway. Whoops, that one was already switched. And I'm getting on the highway this way. If I stay in the left lane, I'm actually turning right. Now you will notice in some spots, that icon telling you, hey, you've got two pieces of highway facing different directions, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily right. Because, for example, like this might be all the way up there. It's not telling me that there's a problem down here, right? This should both be merging towards getting onto the highway. This is actually an exit ramp that's coming around as another exit ramp. So just be very careful with your flows, because you may not see an icon blinking just because you've got things set up in the wrong direction. And there you have it. A beautiful interchange, handles traffic way better than the default Cloverleaf, and it doesn't take up that much more room. Like the core is the same. And if we got a little less flared on the on and off ramps, they don't have to swing out that far. I just do that because I kind of like that look. Totally up to you though, right? We're not asking for a lot more space, but we are getting a ton more efficiency, and hopefully it wasn't too tricky to build. Credit for the core of this build, again, to HK_Cities Skylines. Check out their channel. Like, subscribe over there. They've only got 1,000 subs, and they're definitely doing some really cool stuff. I just wanted to adapt this a little bit further, specifically for the console crowd and those that are newer to the game, where rather than just building the intersection from scratch, maybe we're converting it from a Cloverleaf and finding a really foolproof formula to do that. I'm going to try to adapt some other interchanges, like a service interchange and diverging diamonds and all sorts of other things. Partial Cloverleaf, of course. They're a lot trickier to do on console, though, because we don't have the ability to manage traffic. So we've got to do some really weird things to adapt those. And I'm going to try and figure those out and be posting some of those soon. So stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe here if you enjoyed. Check back for more. There's lots of long form content, let's plays, builds, tutorials, all sorts of stuff on the channel. Hope you stick around. Hope to see you on the next one. But until then, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.